Call this meeting to order. The school board meeting, October 23rd. Verification of meeting posted. This meeting was posted in accordance with all of Wisconsin open meeting laws. And we will do an attendance roll call.
All right. We'll start down here. Lori? Here. Kevin?
Here.
Terry?
Here.
Bob? Jason?
Here.
Brett?
I'm here.
Okay. And myself. We're all present.
All right, everybody is present. We are going to skip the Pledge of Allegiance since we did the national anthem at the annual meeting. And we need a motion to approve the agenda. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Forget there's a delay there. The ayes have it, motion passes. Moving on to the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Was that Jason?
Would anyone like any part of the consent agenda removed for individual consideration? No? Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes. And we move on to student representation. Thank you for sticking around.
Of course. It's on. All right. Starting off at Muskego High School, juniors who signed up and took the PSAT on October 11th, those scores will be released in a couple weeks. Juniors also took an official ACT on October 17th if they signed up. This counts as an official ACT score, and students had the option of making a My ACT account and getting to submit their scores to 4 schools for free. The MHS Music Department is gearing up for their teen edition of the musical Chicago, and they are having an informational meeting on Wednesday. MHS Student Council is hosting Spooktacular this Saturday, which is an event for Muskego families to bring their young children to the high school for trick-or-treating and Halloween games. Spanish National Honor Society is working with the Pulsera Project, in which they will sell bracelets made by a group of artisans in Nicaragua. 100% of the proceeds from the bracelets will be sent back to Nicaragua. The entire purpose is just to help the project. The proceeds of the Pulsera Project makes funds for many different programs that empower artists and communities and enact social change. Fall sports are winding down, some on the way to state and some whose seasons have already ended. Girls tennis has wrapped up their season, but Emily Pan qualified for state this year as the 12th seed. She is the second girl in school history to qualify for state all 4 years. At state, she won her first match, but lost her second one due to a wrist injury. Girls golf has also wrapped up their season, but for the second time in a row, they made it through regionals to sectionals. Junior Kira McAllister and sophomore Ari Litzo both finished with first-team all-conference recognition. They unfortunately did not make it to state, but junior Martina Hudai was only 3 strokes away from qualifying individually, and sophomore Ari Litzo was only 4 strokes away. Boys soccer ended their regular season strong, landing themselves in the 3rd seed. Juniors Emerson Rush and Caden Kagerbauer both made first-team all-conference recognition. The team is on the road to state, having won the regional semi-game against Nathan Hale on October 17th, 5-0, and they also won the regional final match against Kenosha Tremper on October 21st by PKs, making them regional champions. They will play Thursday against Franklin for the sectional semifinals. Girls volleyball has unfortunately ended their season, losing their regional semifinal game against Kettle Moraine on October 19th, but giving a tough battle and losing in 5. Cross country had their sectional meet at Lake Danoon on October 21st, and both the girls and boys teams have qualified for state this year, which hasn't happened for many years. Both teams will be heading to Wisconsin Rapids on October 28th, so wish them luck there. Girls swim and dive capped off an undefeated conference dual season, and this is the first time in over 10 years that has happened. They had their conference meet on October 21st, and they came 2nd overall for JV and varsity. They move on to sectionals on November 4th, which will be held at home and determine their state qualifiers. Moving on to Lake Danoon hosted an event for MHS Warrior Bots on the 14th. They watched the Warrior Bots take on other teams from Wisconsin and Illinois. The Elegant Farmer PTO fundraiser is going on, and pies can be ordered from students until October 25th. Volunteers are still needed to help out with the trunk or treat event, so consider decorating your trunk and passing out candy to children. Students can still honor a veteran on the Veterans Day wall at Lake Danoon. The deadline to submit is November 11th. Muskego Youth Trap Team is hosting an informational meeting on November 6th for anyone interested in joining. Students had their ACP lesson last Friday, learning about decision-making, biases, and career matching. And Lake Danoon's National Junior Honor Society is hosting their Battle of the Bills competition. So the funds from that are going to the Wounded Warrior Project. Yo-Yo Club is starting on November 1st. Destination Imagination is hosting an informational meeting tomorrow if interested in joining, and Muskego Youth Lacrosse Club is hosting a free clinic for anyone interested in joining lacrosse. It'll be taking place on November 4th at the high school. At Muskego Lakes Middle School, they held their parent-teacher conferences on the 19th and tonight, offering in-person and virtual options. If students are missing items, they should check the lost and found during school tomorrow, as any items left past tomorrow will be donated. Pictures of the lost and found can be found. Pictures of the lost and found can be located in the Muskego Lakes newsletter. And the Muskego Lakes PTO will be selling Kringle from now to November 3rd. To order Kringle, you can email Jen Colin. At Mill Valley has recognized Bullying Prevention Month, celebrating their Unity Day, which was on October 18th. All students were asked to come to school wearing orange to support the anti-bullying movement. Mill Valley will be hosting its Halloween parade on Thursday of this week. Students get to come in their Halloween costumes and walk through the hallways to show off their costumes. Mill Valley will be cleaning out their lost and found on October 27th, so make sure students check for any missing items. And Mill Valley got their forward exam results showing that they're second achieving in math and first achieving in ELA. Mill Valley will also be creating a Veterans Day wall and asking students to submit pictures of relative veterans by November 8th. At Bay Lane is having a Veterans Day assembly on November 10th. Families of students have been invited to coffee with the principals on Thursdays, or this Thursday, to ask any questions and for the principals to get to know the families better. Bay Lane will be hosting author Candace Fleming and illustrator Eric Rotman to teach students about what goes on and into making and publishing a book. Bay Lane wrapped up their book fair, and students enjoyed an $8 credit to buy a new book sponsored by the PTO. And fourth grader Logan C. raised $2,075 for their Color Walk fundraiser, earning her the opportunity to be principal for a day. And at Lakeview students wore orange also for Unity Day, spreading kindness and sharing the message of anti-bullying. And Lakeview students received outdoor gazebos from the PTO, which they are incredibly grateful for. And that's all from me.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Hannah? Thank you for staying so late. On to the superintendent's report.
Well, the very first item tonight is another recognition for amazing work that's done by one of our staff members, the Wisconsin Coach of the Year for the past cross-country season. We've got CJ Michaud here, who is here to receive the recognition. So, CJ, could you come on up?
Certificate of Appreciation. The Muskego Norway School Board congratulates Muskego High School cross-country coach CJ Michaud on being selected by the Wisconsin Cross Country Coaches Association as the recipient of the 2022-23 NFHS Coaches Association Girls Cross Country Coach of the Year Award for Wisconsin. Annually, the NFHS identifies and recognizes a coach from each state for significant achievement in their sport. State-level recipients are considered for NFHS sectional recognition. National Coaches of the Year are then chosen from the sectional winners. CJ Michaud was selected based on a variety of criteria, including his coaching record, background coaching honors, and his involvement in community and school organizations. The Muskego Norway School Board commends CJ Michaud for his exceptional coaching ability that brings honor not only to himself, but to the Muskego Norway community and to his students to learn, grow, and succeed. Presented at Muskego, Wisconsin, this 23rd day of October. Congratulations.
Yeah, Liz. Close your eyes. Good job, Rachel.
So the next item on the superintendent report, we have Principal Irvine here from Muskego High School, who is going to be sharing a little bit more about the work that's been happening at Muskego High School. And I see that his administrative team is also off to the side, so welcome all. Welcome, Mr. Irvine.
Thank you very much, Mr. Peterson, and thank you, board members and all the fans that stayed. We had the mayor here earlier. He is now exited. That's unfortunate. That's unfortunate. Please let Mayor Rick know that I'm disappointed. I felt like he was here for me and the great work happening at the high school. So do we have the clicker?
Right here.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Peterson. Sorry. Again, as you can see, our presentation here tonight, and again, I'm sorry, I'm Todd Irvine, high school principal, and grateful for our leadership team over there, Mr. Roberts, Ms. Prokop, and Mr. Dunbar. The outstanding things that happen here are truly the result of a great team of people who truly love what they do and believe in the importance of this work. The kind of backbone of the work we do, we talk about building powerful relationships with every student and helping students understand the opportunity they have to go out and make an impact in the world. And that happens when you get a group of people who believe in that mission and work every single day towards that. So when we think about some of the things that have been shared throughout the night, this strategic plan is truly the foundation of our district. And as Mr. Peterson mentioned, it truly flows through every building. It does. It is the backbone of what we do. It creates a compelling why for what we do, and it helps us empower our staff to understand the direction we're heading. In life, there are few things more powerful than getting a group of dedicated professionals who truly believe in what they're doing and working towards that. So he mentioned some of those key aspects. We call them the pillars in our building, but those are, again, going to be things we're going to talk about throughout tonight. I'm going to do my best to try to keep it short and succinct, but honestly, I get fired up talking about this stuff, so I will try to keep us on pace. These wonderful three letters, the ACT, sometimes they drive me crazy. None of us got into this profession for a standardized test. However, the reality is that test really creates some powerful opportunities for our students. When they open up those test results as a junior and they see that number, oftentimes it can send a very strong message that for the first time, I think I can consider college if I never thought of it before, or it can open up opportunities for scholarships. It can open up a ton of different things. So we can refute all we want about standardized tests and the impacts they have, but we owe it to our students to create a pathway for them to stay in the driver's seat, because tests like this aren't going away. We have to understand how to navigate that, and we have to create a pathway to help our students be in the driver's seat. So no matter what their plan is when they walk across that stage, they're the person who gets to decide what that next step might look like. So as we look at what that success is, Mr. Bavlinka did a great job sharing some of the highlights. It is a key factor for our success. Our students are compared on that number. We're incredibly proud that over the past 5 years, we're one of very few districts that have seen this consistent and steady increase and have achieved our highest ACT score overall in the entire time. We also beat out a school that kind of a little bit west of us that is, some people think it's a great school district, which it is, but it's one that we compete with, and it's awesome to see us achieve at a higher level for the first time in our history. That happened in both ELA, English Language Arts, and then also in math as well. As Mr. Bavlinka shared, we continue to move up the ladder within Waukesha County in those scores. Mr. Peterson talked about that concept of lucky or leading. Incredibly proud to talk about the work that happens here. We had an opportunity a few weeks back to sit with the board and share some of the key initiatives that we've been working on, centered on collaboration and centered on developing our formative assessment practices and understanding our ability to measure the right stuff and then rally around it. So if we have a student that didn't get it, what are we doing? Are we intentionally designing lessons to ensure that they get it the next time? And then the students who do have it, how are we extending the learning and really pushing out the top? So those are critical aspects that have helped lead to that kind of academic success. The other part that's tied to this, the ACT they created this form called the College Readiness Benchmark. What that predicts is based on your score, they're predicting with 75% confidence that you will get a C in that content area in your freshman year of college. So it's based on extensive amounts of research. As you can see that over the past 5 years, we've had a steady increase in the number of our students who on their junior ACT scored proficient in all 4 of those college readiness benchmarks. What's really cool about that is it's happening in their junior year, when they still have an entire year of education left before they transition. So those are some pretty positive numbers. But again, it hurts my heart a little bit to talk so much about the ACT because that's not really all we're here to do. One of the things that has made me the most proud of this district is our open and honest commitment to saying it's not just about going to a 4-year college. It's about preparing every single student who comes through these doors with a pathway to pursue their goals and dreams and aspirations. And for many of our students, their best path is the workforce. So what are we doing intentionally to start opening up that door and helping our students experience what that pathway might look like? So as we've developed the Connect Academy, we've had a significant increase in the number of students who've been able to access this. Actually, over the last 5 years, we've nearly quadrupled that number of students, and the amount of money they've earned have saved themselves or actually earned over $1.1 million just based on their work-based learning experiences. So it's really huge. The other point of pride that I think can't be overstated, the attributes that our workforce is talking about our students. So when we send our students out to these work-based learning experiences, we then survey them to ask them what went well, what kind of things define our students. And those of you who own businesses, you talk about the things you want from your employees. What our business partners have said, number 1, our students come with a great attitude. Number 2, they're dependable and they're honest. Number 3, they show up on time. Number 4, they're showing up consistently. And then number 5, their ability to adapt regardless of what workplace challenges are placed in front of them. So again, when we talk about preparing students to be career ready, it's really impressive the things that are happening. So we're grateful for that opportunity to continue to expand upon that. So those are a couple of celebrations from last year's Eye on the Goal. Like anything, our goal isn't to be good, it's to be great. So in a mindset of continuous improvement, you have to look at those spaces and places where we need to get better. The area on the left is our student engagement scores. Yes, we changed the metric, so our numbers, it's a little bit difficult to compare apples to apples, but in our opinion, as we talked as a building leadership team, we felt like our numbers went down in some key areas. In particular, the area that went down, based on our students' response, is our students demonstrate respect for one another. That really hit close to home, so that's something we're going to talk about as we look at our goals for this next year. And then the second area is our bottom quartile. So we take a look at that the student performance in the bottom quartile, what happens to those students throughout the year? Honestly, we're concerned and we're a little frustrated that we've got some students who come in and they've got some strong skills, but unfortunately, sometimes they say, I'm done with this standardized testing, I'm more interested in the world of work, and please don't make me sit for 4 hours and take a standardized test again. It's not what I want to do. The number of students we have that as we look at their test performance compared to their academic performance, they're good students, but they're tired of the game of standardized testing. But we still need them to show us their best because they might change their mind. I was a student who didn't know I was going to go to college until nearly the end of my senior year. So we need to continue to work with our students to understand the benefit of these tests and get them to show us their best because we know there's more there than what we've been able to see, and we have to continue to rally around that. So as we look ahead to this next year, and now I have the childproof clicker, our goal is to continue to live our mission. We truly want to see every single student learning, growing, and succeeding. We appreciate our goal of trying to become the district of choice. However, we do refute the aspect that it should just be in southeastern Wisconsin, and we're going to put out a petition to see if we can remove that last tag. We really do believe we have the foundation to be the district of choice in all of Wisconsin. We've got incredible students who work very hard. Hannah did a great job summarizing some of that stuff. We have a staff who truly cares about what they do, and we have incredible community support. They just happen to leave. But really, we have all the criteria to continue to dream big. We've got a great strategic plan. We've got the right pillars identified. We're talking about the right things. Our past success has demonstrated that. We have to continue to be authentic, though, in asking the right questions. What are our successes? How do we utilize those as a springboard to build off and further push areas where we need to improve? As a staff, we get fired up about this. To be honest, we tried to get the inflatable tunnel and the smoke and the flames for the school board to come in tonight, but Mr. Johnson said it would set off the fire alarm. I apologize about that. We'll try to set it up sometime, perhaps when we're leaving. But genuinely, I wish you guys could sometimes sit in one of our building leadership meetings and see the raw emotions as our staff talks about student data. I will admit I'm a nerd, I get fired up about data, but honestly, sometimes it feels cold because it's a number. What they're great about doing and integrating into our conversations, every time we talk about a number, they think about faces. And they think about kids that have had an impact on their life that's inspired them to come to work every single day because they truly love what they do so much. So it's the foundation for great stuff to come. Going back to that, one of the areas to improve, the student engagement, as I said, that was an area of passion for us. We really do believe in the one warrior concept, that every single student needs to come to school for something in addition to the academic journey. We've got a lot of incredible clubs. Best Buddies does some incredible things. Our student council is amazing. There's a lot of opportunities. We have over 1,100 students connected in clubs, activities, athletics. But what that means is there's 500 other students in our building walking around that aren't connected. And why is that? I think we've done a really good job talking to our great students. We continue to ask questions, ask them why. We continue to tap on our student leaders to try to send the right message. This year our focus is on, we've developed a survey that we're gonna send out to those 500 students. We're gonna get into the winter sports season when another group of sports starts, another group of clubs starts, and then we're gonna send out a survey to the students who aren't connected and try to really dig further into why not? What's the barrier? What's preventing you? What's holding you back? Because we need you to be part of the One Warrior family. And yes, you're a part of the One Warrior family if all you do is show up. That still matters. But we want to add to the layers and the rationale and the justification for every single student when they show up. The other part of that was the demonstrating respect for one another. Again, sometimes young adults expect us as adults to talk about being respectful and showing pride and living like a warrior. What we tried to focus on this year, one of our action steps, are empowering our student voices more. So in addition to things like our Warriors 101 program and helping our incoming freshmen understand what it means to live like a warrior, we created an all-school assembly for the first day of school that was combined with a club fair, then also having our students speak to each of the Warriors Way pillars. Again, students, right, wrong, or indifferent, they expect me to say something as a principal. It's a whole nother message when you can tap on the right student leaders and have them tell their story and share their why. During one of the assemblies, one of our students talked about the aspect of humility and sharing gratitude, and they talked about how when he was an underclassman, he watched one of the upperclassmen that he looked up to thank our folks down in food service. And he talked to that student, he's like, well, why did you do that? And he shared this really, really cool story. And then he talked about how the next day he went into the lunch line and he thanked the folks in the cafeteria. And how he saw this adult that was working there give him the biggest smile, and he's like, it changed my life. I found out how easy it is to send a message to someone and impact their day just by demonstrating gratitude. Well, he shared this story with every student in our building as they navigated through the stations. About 2 weeks later, I was down in our cafeteria, and I had two different Taher employees come up to me and say, what's happening in your building right now? I'm like, why? What do you mean? I've had more students thank me than I've had over the last 5 years added up. The power of student voice and the opportunity for our young adults to take ownership of the culture of this building is really huge. So can't say enough how proud I am of our students and the way they rally together, the way they find opportunities to use their voice and help our incoming students understand what really does it mean to live like a warrior. Our goal at the end of the day is to have every single student coming to school fired up, or as fired up as they are to cheer for a banana, just to come to Muskego High School. If we can get that fired up about a banana costume, we have to be able to find the right thing to get those other 500 students connected to something. So again, grateful for the student partnership in that. Looking ahead to the other aspect of this, obviously our goal is that learning, growing, and succeeding. Can't stress enough how grateful we are as a school system to have the opportunity to continue to expand upon our course offerings. When we talk about student engagement, a huge part of that, do I have courses that connect to me as a person in my intended career path? So over the past several years, we've had some really cool new courses. As we talked about a little bit earlier, I think we have 13 new classes that will be opening up as a result of this amazing referendum that was passed because of great strategic intentional planning. So huge shout out to that. Other courses, things like ACT skills and strategies, that was a new course 3 years ago. It's blown up to over 100 students. So again, our effort to create things that travel the whole pathway from a student who's a four-year college-bound student to the student that's here who wants to get done with their 4 years of high school, enter the workforce, maybe experience the military. We also set a goal around trying to expand the number of work-based learning experiences that students can earn certifications in. So when they walk across that stage, they're walking out with something in their hand in addition to a diploma that gives them an advantage in the job market. So we're working hard to expand upon our business partnerships, and I just can't say enough about the support we've gotten from our businesses. Just last week, we had the Waukesha Business Alliance here. We had over 30 business partners talking to us about how they want to partner more with our students because of the things that they're hearing about our students. Expanding further on that, we want to talk about employee experience. As we mentioned, one of our key pillars are having people that truly love what they do. When we dug back a little bit, we realized we spent a lot of time talking about our teaching staff, and obviously that's critical. You want a teaching staff who has smiles on their faces, who's excited to go out and dance in front of a whole bunch of people and look like a fool sometimes. I don't look bad. No, you do look really good in that. That's critical. I do believe when students see adults who are loving what they do, are having fun, there's some really powerful lessons in there. But we also honestly had to recognize that we're missing some key aspects of our workforce. Talking about our co-curricular coaches, our club advisors, our buildings and grounds, TAHER, every single adult who's in this building, we have to do a better job ensuring that they are showing up, feeling supported, having the resources they need, because we have to keep great people here in front of our students. They deserve the best. So again, we've expanded our efforts well beyond our teaching staff this year, so we're excited to see the results from that. Extending that further, the most powerful thing that can happen, again, is a student smile. When you talk about sometimes the ups and the downs of this work, it all matters when you see those smiles. When you have that moment when a student has that breakthrough, and again, when we talk about staff engagement, people will run through a brick wall where they know it matters. The results of this district over the last 7 to 9 years has seen a significant increase in all the right variables because our staff loves what they do and they believe in the importance of the outcome for our students, and our students work incredibly hard. Again, a lot of this couldn't happen without great community support. We can't say enough how grateful we are for the things that are happening out there. We're excited for the opportunities that's put upon us as a staff to come up with great curriculum offerings, and also to sometimes have to dance a little bit right now, like the phone call we got on Friday when a forklift went through a brick wall. I mean, sometimes you can't plan for all these things, but with great opportunities comes additional opportunities to learn. We'll continue to do that, and we look forward over the next several years to continuing to expand course offerings because of the great facilities that this community has blessed us with. All in all, this is all kind of the work we do to live that mission of finding a pathway for every single student to find out what is their career path. And when they find that career path, are they ready to go out and be a citizen that we would be proud to call our neighbor? That's our goal, and that's the work we do. It's why we show up every single day with our hearts filled. We're so thankful for your support, and I apologize I went longer than I intended to, but again, I'm just grateful for your support. Any questions? I know that was a lot really fast. I was going to have the students dance for you. I don't know why they left. That would have really kind of put an exclamation point. Hannah, should we do a quick routine? You're good? Okay.
That's a hard no.
That's fair. Mr. Michaud? Okay.
Thank you very much,
I
Todd.
just want to outperform anyone.
Yep. Thank you, Todd. Thank you, high school administration, for sticking around. And that being said, that concludes your superintendent report.
You sound like an announcer. All right, moving on to other reports. President report. Just an update on the superintendent search. We had developed a profile at our last meeting, and that was will be utilized in how we look at candidates that come forward. We will be meeting with consultants this week to take the next step in that process. And our goal still is to name that person by December. I just want to thank Jeff. I know getting ready for the annual meeting for me and you was the first time doing this. Even though you sit in them, it's much different being here. So thank you for doing that and being my partner through that.
Been a champ.
And also, I know that Hannah mentioned the robotics that was at Lake Denoon. If anyone has not had the opportunity, we do get invited every year to the unveiling of the robot that they build each year. make a point to get to that. It is incredible, and talking to the kids that are involved in that program is crazy. They're amazing kids. I was able to go to the Twist, and that's all female. They were all female drivers. Everybody there was females running the whole show and driving them and doing everything on the course, and it was really cool. I've always wanted to see one, so it was really neat to go to. So if you ever have an opportunity to do that, and if they have another one close by, definitely try to go to that. It is pretty neat. And that is all I have. So, other board member reports. Tracy?
Just, I posted the CISA 1 updated information events and stuff. That's coming up, so. Take a look at it.
Kevin? Lori? Bob? Brett?
Nothing to report.
Jason? Before I forgot. All right. And committee reports. I will start with Lori on the Educational Services Committee.
All right, so at our last meeting, we approved the new courses, very exciting. But with those new courses, we also needed guidebooks, first and foremost, to reflect courses, to identify the changes that were made for students that may not be aware of it, that might be looking for a course that's no longer there or that's been changed. And some other suggested things. So the committee met today before dinner, and we would like to bring forward a motion to the board to approve. I have two separate motions. The first motion I'd like to bring forward is to approve the Muskego High School guidebooks for 23-24. There's a few edits that are going to be made that we've talked about, but in general, we agree with the concept, and they're very small edits.
You want
It's
to,
on the-
it's on
it's
the,
on the
under
resolution.
resolutions. We'll hit it there, if that's okay.
There, okay, so then the second one that we're going to be looking at then is regarding suggested changes and edits with the middle school guidebooks. There were just some tweaks and changes made, and we will be bringing forth a motion to approve the middle school guidebooks as well. And I'd like to thank Andy and his team for all the hard work in getting that turned around so quickly after just approving those courses. So, thank you.
Are you guys into, because we only have the high school academic guidebook on, so are you okay with us doing the middle school one at the next meeting? Okay. And policy committee? Nothing? Brett does chair the business services committee, and I did, I did recently ask him if he would take over, you can nominate businesses to the, Brett, what is it, the WASB Business Honor Roll? So you can nominate businesses that have contributed to the district in different ways financially and supported our district. And I have asked him as the chair that he do that each year and take a look at that for 2024, because it's already done for this year. Yeah, so we're going to put that in that committee. And it hasn't been done since like 2021. So, yeah, there's nothing there. So Brett will take that in the committee, and so that will be assured that we can have that done every year. Okay, so we're going to move on to resolution action items. 2023-24 budget.
Motion to approve the 2023-2024 budget as presented.
Thank you. Any discussion? Do you go over the new stuff here or at? Yeah. Okay.
So under the in-board docs, we did include a document that just compares the key budget factors and the adjustments that were made between preliminary and final. So within that document, you'll see that our overall revenue limit went down. And again, the preliminary budget was set in August, and the final budget is obviously just set this past week. Our final numbers came in on October 15th, and so we were able to provide the overall budget. So the difference in the overall revenue limit was just under 300,000. Our third Friday pupil count, we preliminarily estimated a decrease of 50 students. We actually saw a decline of 88. And that's FTE, I apologize, not head count. Our summer school stayed pretty close. We had 235 FTE originally, and that's what we had this past year. Our final number was 229. Again, for each of those FTEs from summer school, we are able to add an additional $11,325 to the budget per student, which helps support general operations. Our equalization aid, and this was something that I mentioned earlier, there was a significant bookkeeping error with one of our big districts in Wisconsin last year. And that error was not really talked about or told to anyone, but as a result, we have to make up for it, we meaning the rest of the school districts in the state, because we got more aid last year when we were supposed to. If they would have had accurate books, the aid would have been distributed differently. So as a result, we had seen an impact of about $880,000 as a result of that. So again, when we talk about the tax levy and how it went from, going down, that impact about 1% to a 2% impact, that's really the result of that, that shift in equalization aid for us. We also saw an increase of 6 voucher students, which adds up to about $85,000. The tax levy, again, listed out here, you'll see our general fund tax levy is changing. We have to increase that. But overall, everything else remained the same from the preliminary. We originally estimated a 14% increase in our values. It was actually a 13.57%, so not too bad there. Our per pupil categorical aid, $742, the per student remains the same. And our total categorical aid in general went down because our student population, our FTEs went down. So as a result, we have the final budget that's listed for you to approve. And that crazy DPI format that exists, it's called final budget adoption. So here is that 3-column document that's been updated to reflect a total budget of $62,338,691 for general operations. And special education budget is $9,296,803. And then our debt service, our capital projects budget, our food service budget, community service, and cooperative that we now have with McGuanago all remain the same from preliminary. Questions? Yes.
So, when an error like that is made, I have a couple of questions. One, is there an audit done to make sure that the error didn't happen again this year and that the numbers that we're seeing are real?
It is the hope.
Is there any accountability that happens as a result of that? Because decisions have been made through the last year that are now impacted and it's last minute. So it is unbelievably frustrating to hear that a very large district can't keep their books in order. So I'm just curious what the accountability piece is and how, if there's going to be a state audit.
I don't know about that. I do know that as a requirement for all school districts, we are required to be audited every year. The timing of when that happens, we have deadlines. I don't know if they're held to that same deadline. I don't know. We could look into it a little bit more, but, from our perspective, we have to do what's required from the state, from DPI requirements to get our information in by December 1st for our audit. So our independent audit must be done by December 1st and submitted to them. So I don't know specifically what happened at that level, or if the audit wasn't complete, or if it was complete and then the information there's transition at DPI also and communicating that out,
Yeah, it's just,
it is frustrating.
it's frustrating because of just the sheer number of hours that you in particular put together on this, and we all deliberated over it for how many months, only to come and have that happen is just really disheartening and disappointing.
I would agree.
So, nothing for you in this district to do about it other than to accept it. But it's just frustrating. So,
district was it?
yeah, I don't know that we can go there. No. But, so.
Yeah.
Any other discussion? Any other? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Two 2023-24 tax levy.
Motion to approve the 2023-2024 tax levy as presented.
Discussion.
I included the chart that we included at the annual meeting to show the overall levy request of $32,811,238. The impact of that being an increase of 8.37%. Then looking at the school levy credit, again, that number comes in November, so that could go up slightly depending on where those all fall across the state. So we are looking at a school levy credit that will actually be distributed to municipalities and deducted from the individual taxpayers at that level, bringing the net impact down. And then again, with net new construction and spreading our levy across all the new properties that are being added to the tax roll, would bring us to a net levy impact on average of about 2.6%. From equalized valuation and mill rate, again, we put the new equalized values in there. The mill rate overall per thousand on a home in Muskego goes from $6.27 down to $5.99 from last year. The second document that I did add shows in blue then the final levy by each fund. So general fund, $25,831,869. Capital expansion fund, $750,000, which again is the what we use for capital projects. Those two combined are part of the revenue limit levy. So if we didn't levy that out separately, it would be part of the general fund. Our referendum approved debt, $6.2 million, which again is down $200,000 from last year. The $15,000 for community service, and then we had a small chargeback of just over $1,100, bringing our total to the $32,811,238. Yes.
It's not apples to apples, right? It's just so when we get our tax bills at the end of the year, it doesn't.
Mill rate is based on equalized valuation,
Right.
so it's not based on assessed, so you wouldn't see that number on your individual tax bill. But it would be, comparable on the ups and downs of, how those adjustments are made, that the assessed would go up or down.
Okay.
So we'll be looking at our tax levy going up, that amount.
So all else being equal, and I understand there's differences in assessments throughout, the average impact is going to be about 2.63% increase on a per household basis.
Correct.
Okay.
Any other discussion? Yeah, it stinks after
It's not
being
something I
Lorian.
wanna see
It's
at
not something I
all.
want to bring forward.
No, I know. I'm kind of bummed.
No way to reduce that using anything that we have.
We do have Fund 39 fund balance available, which can only be used for paying down debt. So we could offset the debt levy, the 6.2 million, use 600,000 of those funds to bring it down.
But it would only probably 7.
It would bring it down, it would bring it down to where the net would probably be around 1%, but what that does is that it just postpones the inevitable to next year.
Right.
So where next year, right now, estimates, based on updated factors that we have, are looking at a very small increase, which we could probably manage down like we have in the past. But if we reduce this year, it just shifts it to next year, and then we have a higher levy to be dealing with next year.
Yeah.
So I understand the impact on the growth, right, of the things going on in Muskego. Is it back-ended this year where a lot of the growth is coming online towards the end of the year? So will we see more of that impact for a full year next year?
Yeah, so for example, Fleet Farm is not on the tax roll
Right.
that we're factoring in this year. So next year, we will see that impact.
And does that even with that, show a small increase?
No, that takes into account no net new construction,
Okay.
sorry.
Okay.
So the small increase that we're looking at doesn't account for any of that. It doesn't account for net new construction, any changes to the levy credit that may come forward next year as well.
Okay.
So I can tell you, and again, this is very preliminary. We would be looking at less than a 1% increase without anything next year. If we used Fund 39 and we use 600,000 of our fund balance, I'm sorry, I put in a positive, it needs to be a negative. That would take us down from an 8 to a 6.3%, and then next year would be over a 2% estimate right now.
But you're not anticipating the state giving more?
No, but the way that our state aid is determined is based on current year shared costs. So it's what everybody reports, which is where the issue was last year. So where we report this year, that impacts our aid next year. And so depending on how spending comes in, a lot of people are like their ESSER funding's going away, so that's gonna play into some of that. So we could see a shift in aid, for the positive even, which could then bring that down. Again, those state aid factors, we have estimates, but they're really driven by current expenditures from this year. So we'll start estimating what that looks like better in, I have a meeting with Baird in December, so we'll start looking at those forecasts as early as December. So, I mean, the board has the opportunity, if you'd like me to explore utilizing fund balance to bring that down, we could do that, even though it pushes some into next year, knowing that there is some opportunity for new construction to bring next year's down too. If I can pull up one more document while you're thinking, I could try to get the overall impact of that. I'm sorry, I should have had this up. What was that? What?
Is this a possibility to
No.
move it? Is approved at the-
Oh, it is, okay.
The annual meeting, what was approved at the annual meeting was the preliminary levy. The actual levy is approved at this meeting. So that's why I showed both
Right.
during the annual. So what was actually approved was the 5.1% increase.
Looking something
No, that's
up,
okay, that's
but
fine.
can you just share again, help me follow the numbers of why if we use fund balance this year, it will impact next year? I just want to make sure I'm following that correctly.
Right, so,
Put us in a short-term borrowing situation, will it?
not at this point, but we're close on the short-term borrowing, so we may have to have a discussion depending on where we end up with things next year.
As it stands?
Regardless,
Regardless, so as it
Mhm.
stands, okay.
We are planning on using fund balance for the band project, and so part of that, depending on how we use interest earnings from the referendum project, we have to talk about how that all works out, but, so we have to have that discussion. But definitely don't have enough information now to,
Yeah, okay.
There's a benefit to do
Having Peter to pay Paul.
Well, you're right, because if we can see some of the savings next year, which we don't know,
Right.
there's an uncertainty to it, then it would bring that levy back down, right? So it's still, the hard work needs to go into next year, but it could reverse itself a bit,
it
right?
could. Mhm.
Okay.
So if we utilized, and again, in our Fund 39 fund balance right now, We have about 900,000. So this, if we use, let's just say 600,000, that would bring that down to 300,000. Again, that's not planned for anything. It's just, you know, in the past where we've had the opportunity to levy with, even though we were decreasing, we levied as much as we could in debt service so that we could create those defeasance opportunities. This would bring that from about 960,000 down to about 300,000, which still gives us a little flexibility in the future. The overall impact, assuming the tax levy credit is still at 22%, we'd be looking at a 0.65% increase this year in the levy, as opposed to the 2.63, if we utilize those funds. If we did a little bit less than that, like if we did 400,000, that would be like a 1.3% increase.
And how does it impact next year again?
Sorry. So we would see about a 2% increase, it would go up about 2%.
In order to replenish those funds?
It's not replenishing, it's just based on how we'd be utilizing funds in the equalization aid formula
Okay,
and those shared costs, and then the transfer of those shared costs the next year.
okay.
So
Thanks.
is it, just so I understand it, so we get more credit for having the debt, but if we pay down the debt, we lose that? Is that kind of how it is?
Essentially.
Yeah, so that's why if we put money into it to reduce the debt, we reduce the levy. But then next year we get less aid
Right.
because we don't have as much debt, so that's why the levy goes up. I mean, is that how it works?
Essentially,
I'm
yes.
trying really hard
Yes.
because you do
Yep,
so well,
yep.
but I'm like, I'm not a business brain. So that's why it almost makes more sense to just, you know, it is what it is and just work really hard next year to bring it back down. Like, there's nothing we can do for the mistakes that were made.
I kind of feel like anything we do now to try and fix a mistake doesn't guarantee us having to try to fix another one in the future.
Right.
And then we just kind of keep pushing things down the road, and
Yeah.
I think it becomes a bigger snowball the harder we push.
Shell game.
It's just a big hit.
Yeah.
The 2%?
Yeah. From what we've been doing for the last 12 years.
Right.
You know,
Yep.
this is kind of a shock to the system.
Right. It's the way we were funded, really.
Right,
I mean, it's
right.
just a different, we've seen so much more in categorical aid and money outside of the revenue limit to specifically not increase taxes. So that's why I think that huge levy credit was given to help offset kind of on the back end, so that if you put that money into the pot, then the districts who are property rich aren't getting the benefit of it, right? When it's outside of the pot, the property richer districts are getting the benefit of having that, which we see that, you know, getting about 22% increase.
Any other discussion other than it's a bummer? Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Okay, the ayes have it. Motion passes. MHS Academic Guidebook.
Motion to approve the academic guidebook as presented.
Discussion. Lori already kind of explained it. Everybody good? Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Sorry. Motion passes. Going on to 6D, gifts, grants, and bequests.
Motion to approve with thanks the following donations. Muskego High School, $1,000 from St. Martin of Tours.
Motion?
Wait,
Second? Oh,
You motion, you second? Okay,
discussion. Thank you.
thank you.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Moving on to number 7, discussion items. We don't have any more on that, right?
Let's not talk about budget anymore.
8, information follow-up. That's where you're going to find your personal information memo, communication and miscellaneous business authorized by law. I do not have anything for under that. So number 9, vote for closed session. A vote for closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statute 19.85 sub 1 sub C for the purpose of considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of specific employees over which the board has jurisdiction, specifically salaries. We will only come back into open session to adjourn, so, roll call vote to go into,
Closed session,
Yep.
Jason? Bob? Brett?
Aye.
Terry?
aye,
Kevin? Aye. Lori? Myself, aye.
all right. We are in closed session.